Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at the Homebuyer panel session, Finding a New Way Home. This is going to help us kick off a wonderful conference, the 10th annual Homeownership Conference for VCCDC. So we're really pleased to be here. My name is Beth Castro. I'm the Community Affairs Officer for the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the OCC for short. There's lots of acronyms. I'm going to try not to use them. But I will say the OCC, for those who may not know, our federal banking regulatory agency, and we supervise national banks and federal savings associations. It's my pleasure to serve as your moderator for our panel this morning. We have a wonderful set of speakers today that are going to share their expertise, their tools, resources, all designed to help you reach your goals for achieving homeownership. So joining me for our discussion today are Kevin Boyadjian, Vice President and Area Lending Manager for Citibank, Nagy Riad, Area Retail Mortgage Production Manager for California Bank and Trust, Blair Connor, Vice President of Lending for CBC Federal Credit Union, Jeannette Mays, Mortgage Advisor, Residential Mortgage Lending for Silicon Valley Bank, and Alex Vega, Director of Lending Services for VCCDC. There's a couple of housekeeping items I want to share before I ask the first question and get started in our conversation. One is that Spanish translation is available for this session, and you can click there. It should be a globe at the bottom of your screen. And Alex, could you just translate that for anyone who wishes to get the content in Spanish?
Sure. Buenos días a todos. Estamos comentando que también este taller se está ofreciendo en español al oprimir el símbolo del mundo abajo de la pantalla.
Thank you so much. Also, there's the chat function that is open, and you can put your comments in there. If you have a question, we're going to try to get to the questions that may be there, but I did want to let everybody know that there will be virtual booths. Each of our speakers organization has a virtual booth, so I encourage you all to go visit the booths and speak to the staff there, and you can have an opportunity to get all the follow-up questions answered that you have. So with that, I want to start our conversation by talking just a little bit and acknowledging the fact that 2022 has been a pretty tumultuous year. There's a lot of challenges and barriers, but that's not where we're going to spend most of our time focusing, but we do want to acknowledge those. And I've asked Kevin if he would please kind of share his thoughts and the thoughts of the group related to what the biggest challenges and barriers are for low to moderate income, especially in first-time home buyers, and what they're facing here in 2022. So Kevin, could you kick us off with that?
Sure. Thank you, Beth. I appreciate you inviting us on this very important meeting panel discussion. So everybody, we kind of got together and spoke earlier in the week, and we came up with a couple of common concerns that are out there. Mainly it starts with affordability. With rising rates in the marketplace right now, we're seeing affordability get a little bit more tougher. We're still seeing inventory at historic low levels. And so overall, you know, the rising rates, inventory levels, and just overall affordability is the main concern that most home buyers have right now. So that we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. So Beth?
Okay. And I didn't know if any of our other panelists had any other comments that they might want to add to that, just, you know, in terms of what they're seeing with their customers and clients. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jeannette, please.
I have a lot of people are still in the market searching. I think that homeownership is a great tool for your future, and people should not be discouraged in still trying to purchase a property. The rates are still low. There's a lot of different lenders that have portfolio rates that are a lot lower than the market rate. So it's always good to speak to every lender that you can just to get information and see what direction they can guide you to. But the best step is coming to VCCD and getting educated and doing the classes and attending their workshop.
Thank you. And, you know, that's perfect, leading us to the next point that I really think we want to spend some time discussing. So I'm going to ask each of you to speak a little bit to this question. How is your financial institution helping individuals and families achieve homeownership in 2022? And I think what I'd like to do is start with Nagy, and then we'll go around, you know, to everyone in the panel.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having us on. Our institution is heavily involved in the LA and the IE area, and we have what's called an Affordable Home Loan Program. Your FICO score is low as 620, 3% down, 43% debt-to-income ratio, and no mortgage insurance. That's the biggest thing that we have. We cover the mortgage insurance. So it's a very helpful program for low to moderate income houses out there. And we have a census tract that we put the property in there. And if it's low to moderate, you already qualify. So,
Nagy, can I ask you to speak a little closer to the mic? Some in our audience are having a little bit of trouble hearing you clearly. Thank you.
We can't hear him.
Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Perfect.
I had my earpiece on.
Okay.
So our affordable home loan program is FICO score is low as 620. It's a 3% down, no mortgage insurance, with a 43% debt to income ratio. And we put your property in the consensus track. And if you're a low to moderate consensus track within that map region, you automatically qualify. So the debt to income ratio and the down payment still qualifies, and we get those clients in their homes right away.
Very good. How about if we can go to Blair next?
Sure. So I actually kind of think of this in two different ways. So one of them is home ownership in the short term, which I could speak to, but I think a lot of people here are going to speak to sort of options that you can find in the marketplace. Kind of what I'd rather focus on is some of the things we're doing at CBC with regards to trying to bridge people into home ownership. So what I mean by that is maybe they can be home ownership and get homes in the short term, but how do we help them get there? So some of the programs that we've actually rolled out that are not mortgage specific, but to me, they lead people into being able to buy a home is we have like a payday alternative loan to get people out of a specific pay cycle where maybe their FICO stays crippled and you can't meet that sort of GSE 620 minimum FICO. We're rolling out another thing, which is essentially a credit consultation app called Credit Mountain that we think, again, puts people on a financial path to home ownership. And then another thing that we're rolling out is a credit builder loan, where basically what you do is you take it out for a year and it slowly gives you good payment history, increases your FICO. So some of the things that we're focusing on are actually trying to bridge people that maybe couldn't buy a home in the short term, but we can get them to a FICO and a cash flow situation where they could in the future. So that's a lot of the stuff that we're working on that's a little bit not specific to mortgage, but we think really helps a lot of our membership.
Thank you. That's a really good point, because there's people that are on a different, you know, everybody's at a different place on the path, right? And so depending on where you're at, you might need some of these other tools before you get to the actual, you know, looking at the different products and so forth. So thank you for that. Can we go to Jeannette next?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this panel. And what Silicon Valley is doing is we're helping with down payment assistance. So we are offering up to $30,000 to help first-time home buyers with their down payment and closing costs. We also do have a 3% down, no PMI program, but we also have 100% financing too. So if you don't have the full down payment, but you have enough for closing costs, we also offer 100% financing. I also work with the city and the county of LA. So if you're looking to buy in those areas, they also do have down payment assistance. We also partner with the Wish for an extra $22,000. So we have different sources of funds to help you get into home ownership. But the best tool to do is actually visit VCCD, talk to one of the counselors, let them run your credit, let them get you home ownership ready because you can go to any lender. The best thing to do is see if you're ready, because you don't want every lender pulling your credit if you're not ready at this time. And it's always good to get the education that you need from VCCD, which is a great source of information.
And are those, can I ask us a follow-up question? Because that's really great information. And I really have kind of hearing a theme about different, you know, depending on where you're at, the best thing to do is kind of make sure you're in that ready category, and there's steps that you can take to get there. For some of your programs, are they restricted to particular locations, or is there a particular FICO score that you all have as a minimum that you look at, Jeannette?
So we look at 640 is our minimum FICO score, and we can lend into San Bernardino, Riverside, Orange, LA, Ventura. So we can go into different areas with our 3% down or our 100% financing. And we also do units. Some individuals want to purchase a duplex, so we also will do a 3% down for duplexes if they're interested. But again, it's really the education of sitting down with VCCD to let them get them home ownership ready before going to a lender, is my suggestion.
Very good. Well, thank you for that then. And how about Kevin?
Hey guys, so Citibank is committed to the community. We have branches, actual retail bank branches in the community to help some of our buyers out there with some more information. Specifically, what Citibank has that's, I think, very unique is the home run product. It's our own portfolio product where you can get 97% financing without mortgage insurance. But the really differentiator in that product is that the interest rate on that is just like the 30-year jumbo rate, which is considerably lower than what the going rate is right now on agency and conforming loans. So not only is the buyer going to bring in minimum down payment, but they're also going to get a much lower interest rate, which is also going to help them get and find a home that they want to get into. So it's a very great product for first-time home buyers, no mortgage insurance, lower interest rate, and then you also get a $5,000 lender paid through Citibank. So we're committed. We want to help as many people as possible. We have a lot of different folks out in the field helping the different community members. So just reach out to one of our members and we'll definitely help you.
So Kevin, follow up for you on your lender paid assistance. What is that? Is that a down payment assistance? Is that a grant? Is that for closing costs? What is that?
It's a closing cost credit. So it goes towards a closing cost.
Oh, wow.
$1,000.
Okay, thank you. Very good. And then Alex, can we, I know a few folks have mentioned going to see VCCDC first, so I'll put you on last so you can talk about all of the programs that you offer.
Yeah, so Beth, I think it's so important that people that we're seeing here are folks that are really focusing on community development, community lending. Very different, I think, from just regular lending at the banking institutions. So they're specialized in being able to do this kind of lending specifically. I think that's an important point. And two terms that we use very frequently is eligibility for different down payment assistance programs that I think we're all talking about, but also the qualification for first mortgages, right? You got to do both simultaneously, and it's not easy to do. So as Jeannette has mentioned, as Kevin has mentioned, Nagy and Blair talked about that path to get there first. It's understanding all of the different programs that exist in the communities, in the state, federal wise. You know, we've talked about this, Beth, because different banks get qualified certain different ways, but it's bringing as much money to the table as could be possible for that specific family, where they're buying, what their household size is, what their income level is. All of that needs to be analyzed, and not everybody, unfortunately, can do it. So different types of down payment assistance it'll fit in different ways. Jeannette may have something in Los Angeles that no one else has. Kevin somewhere else, right? So it's understanding where these programs are. Give you an example. I think one of the biggest impediments that we're still seeing right now, apart from the high interest rates, the high cost of homes or lack of inventory, is still now with the high cost of just everyday goods, having enough money to be able to put 3% down, 5% down, and still cover closing costs. It's not easy for many. So the down payment assistance fills that biggest impediment for a lot of families. So, for example, there are ways that someone can get $145,000 in down payment assistance today. From the WISH program, $22,000 forgivable grant, to if you're buying in the city of Los Angeles, as Jeannette mentioned, or the county of Ventura or Kern County, there are other forgivable grants or deferred loans that can be added to that. The Cal Home through the state of California, that's also there. And Cal HFA, we heard Executive Director Tina Hall talk about the Cal HFA program and the different down payment available from that. And more importantly, how do you combine all of these to really create that impact, that affordability, increase the purchasing power, and reduce the monthly payment? I think it's important. It behooves everybody to find out, everyone that's listening, to find out about these programs, to know that they do work, and to just go to the individual booths that you're hearing here after this thing to hear more about these.
So there's a question in the chat about how all of these entities and these financing that you're mentioning, do they all work together? And like, do you stack them? And maybe Alex, you could just talk about, because you mentioned a number of resources, and is it like, 22 here, 50 here, 100 here, and you can actually layer them and they, kind of go in sequence to help the home buyer finance that first home?
You can. I think the only thing that really creates an impact in not being able to layer is if they're coming from the same sources of funding, right? So the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco is the WISH, Beth, that you know well, because you understand with these banks. And then the state of California, as long as they're coming from different pots of money, it could be layered. The other biggest challenge is what place in line do these loans need to be in, first, second, and that could create some issues there. But they most definitely can be layered. I think you want to find out and talk to everybody and get prepared, know about what's out there, and then call all of these folks, call us up,
And then you have like classes and workshops. I mean, this is where the prospective home buyers, so all of you listening, if you're interested in this, they can sign up for a home buyer workshop, and where you'll learn about how to use these funds and where they are, like how you can access them. Is that correct? I just want to make sure people understand how they're going to get to that information.
Yes, that is correct. You can go to the workshops discuss them. And then obviously if you're working with somebody, is ask whoever you're working with now, ask about these programs. Do you have them? Do they have them? If not, search for them. Right.
So if you if you go to a lender who says that, oh no, there's nothing like that available, you're hearing that's may not be the case. And here are some different individuals that you want to talk to, or these institutions that you want to talk to, because all of these institutions are talking about their ability and willingness to work with these different down payment assistance programs, correct?
Just one statistic, Beth, that I want to add that I think Kevin and Blair and Nagy and Jeannette will all agree with. There was a recent survey done by Down Payment Assistance Resources that 1 out of every 3 borrowers today that are getting declined, they're getting declined because their debt to income ratios are too high. They're getting declined because they don't have enough money down. But if they knew, 1 out of 3, if they knew that down payment assistance was available to them, they would not have been declined. They would have been able to move forward. That's an important statistic.
That is an important statistic. And that really gives us kind of a ray of hope, right? Because there are things that can be done. So it isn't just about the challenges. We're hearing there's a ton of resources out there. Even though there's work, you have to do some work to get there, but it can be done. And we know that for sure, because we've seen hundreds of families, thousands of families access the program. So that's really good information. So so I know we don't have a lot of time for this session, and we could probably kind of go on, but I do want to ask each of you since you all are experts in this area, I would like to ask each of you if you could give one piece of advice or guidance, what would you tell somebody? Because we know there are probably some that might even be listening in today. What would you tell someone who may think that home buying is just not going to be possible for them, that they just aren't going to be able to ever do it? And maybe could we start with you, Jeannette, and then we'll go to Nagy and go around the circle.
I believe the most important thing is patience, and for an individual to get themselves home ownership ready. Look at their FICO scores. Make sure that they have the minimum down payment requirement. Make sure that their debts are low. Make sure that they feel comfortable with the payment. And don't be discouraged when you do get pre-qualified and you're going out there and shopping for a property and you get numerous offers rejected. It's just patience. I had one client that she submitted so many offers, but the right one came along, accepted the down payment assistance. We used our grants because our $30,000 is a grant that's forgiven after 5 years, and she was able to go into a home ownership, and she was very excited. So my advice is patience and get as much education as possible.
Thank you. Those are good words of advice. Nagy, could we ask you, what would your advice or one piece of guidance be to someone like that?
A real quick one, trust the process. You have a team behind you, and if you believe it, you'll achieve it. So nice. it is a process. It's a process. It could be long, it could be short, but do have a team behind you that can help you and guide you through the system.
Very, very, that's really good words of wisdom. I appreciate that very much. How about, can we go to you, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be very patient and you have to be very organized and ready up front. Like Jeannette mentioned, make sure you know where you stand with your credit. Make sure you have all your financial, bank statements, income documentation, all that stuff ready to go. And really talk to a lender that knows what they're doing. Make sure they understand your situation and they pre-approve you. When you have an actual credit and income approval up front, Citibank, we offer that. It's called the Sure Start. We'll approve you. We'll look at your income, your credit, and give you an actual approval. Once you have that approval, you can go shop with and work with an agent that knows what they're doing. And it'll make the process much easier. So work with people that know what they're doing. Be prepared up front. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a journey. Stay patient, stay positive, and you'll get to your ultimate dream of owning a home. So thank you.
Very good. We're hearing some themes here. I like it. And how about Blair? What would you say to someone who thinks they'll never achieve homeownership?
Yeah, I think it's going to overlay and be similar to a lot of the things I said. But what I would say is, again, find a lender that can lay all this out for you as soon as possible, right? With regards to understanding where your FICO is, because there's a minimum barrier for a lot of financial institutions for what it needs to be, understanding where your debts are and understanding where your income level is, especially as it relates to maybe potentially like a 1099, to understand that unless you have a portfolio program option, they're going to look 2 years back on your tax returns. So make sure you're getting credit for all the income that you're producing on those returns. So you don't wake up one day and say, look, I'm ready to go, where you didn't understand they're going to do a 2-year look back. To where if you can start that process today and understanding, look, they're going to look 2 years back. I need to understand where my debts are. I need to understand where my FICO is. Even if it isn't where it needs to be today, get with a lender that can show you, look, here's the process where you can get all those things working in tandem now, where you don't get, 12, 18, 24 months down the road from right now, and you realize that one of those fell through. I think it's just, again, being patient and understanding that the lender will guide you through those things as you go. And as long as you're taking those steps along the way, you can get there. So yeah, that'd be kind of my approach for everyone. And again, just like I said, just to be patient with it and know that, a couple of years down the road, you can get in a home and then boom, you're done. You're good to go. So yeah, that'd be kind of my advice for anyone.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate that. And I'm hearing from everybody, this is a journey. It's not always done immediately. You have to find out where you are, getting that kind of an honest assessment of where you're at and being patient, knowing kind of, using all these experts here, who can help you kind of get there along the way. How about you, Alex? What would you say to someone who may think home buying isn't possible for them?
I think there's somebody else that probably plants this in their minds and that says, homeownership, the dream of homeownership, it's no longer a dream. That's not really true. You know who's mostly saying that? Corporate landlords. these big hedge fund companies that are buying up homes that are saying, no, don't worry about it, just rent forever. We're saying absolutely not. Homeownership is still a dream. It's still something that people need and want to achieve. And I would say is that, well, I think what everybody else said is work with those that champion these kinds of programs. If someone that will hold your hand along the way. For first-time home buyers, their hand-holding needs to be a part of that journey. And so understanding that someone that could provide these kinds of programs to you that don't exist in just the open marketplace, unfortunately, but from the real estate agent that's going to champion this and understand that these programs are viable and necessary, to the loan officers that you're working with that understand and champion these programs as well. I'm going to take a bet that everybody that you see on this screen, they're working for these major banks, the guys that you and the gals that you see on here are the experts in that field, even though there's probably about, I don't know how many, 700, 800 loan officers out there, but you guys are the ones that have been chosen to speak about this because you have a very acute knowledge and of understanding the complexities of these types of programs. So kudos to all of you, and look forward to just being able to put more homeowners into more prospective homeowners into homes.
That sounds fantastic. And I think what I really appreciate about all of you is you're really sharing a lot of options, and you're sharing just kind of this sort of honesty about this is kind of the steps that you need to take. I would encourage everybody to work with a nonprofit partner like VCCDC, who really can help get you that education, kind of as a neutral party, can help serve as that trusted advisor and share with you, where are your resources? Where are the different institutions? All of the institutions on this panel, you can see they're very dedicated to offering products and services for first-time home buyers. So that's something that I really do appreciate. I know this brings us to the close of this conversation. So I would like to just tell every one of you, thank you so much for joining us as panelists, and for all of you in the audience, thank you for joining us and for taking this first step on your path. We want to wish you all the best on that path to homeownership, and we certainly can see that it can become a reality. So with that, I will say enjoy the rest of the conference, and thanks very much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.